force myself to stomach volatility, and what helps me stomach it is knowing that it's a more profitable strategy.
Right. And I'm the opposite. I prefer, I'll reduce profit, totally fine, if it makes my volatility much more happier.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Trading Takes with myself, Sam, presented to you by Investors Underground. Now, my last episode, we chatted everything small caps, and tonight we are going to do exactly the same. And tonight we have another two very special guests, the latest entries into the seven-figure trading profit club. They're also brothers, and brilliantly, they also achieved this milestone. I mean, the chances of this, I think, are incredible. They achieved this milestone on the same day as well. Please welcome to the show, Chris and Evan Schunk. How are you both doing?
I'm good.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Yeah, thank you both for joining me tonight. Now, I mean, we have to kick. I mean, I have to ask in the same way. I know you're brothers. And in the same way that obviously when you've got twins, there's always one that's old. I'm not saying you're twins, but I mean, there's always one that's older than the other. So who actually is the eldest millionaire?
Is it not obvious? That's great.
Is that you? Is that you?
He's the oldest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's the oldest. How long was it by?
2.5 years.
Oh no, I mean in terms of trading, who reached? I know because I know you reached the seven figures on the same day. I was just thinking who reached it, like, because if it was me and my brother and I knew we were about to do it, I'd be thinking, I'm just going to cover this position just so I beat you by a fraction of a second.
Well, so Evan was actually he crossed it before me unrealized, but he didn't realize some long-term longs some swing, like longer swing longs that he had, and then we ended up crossing the same day. But yeah,
nice.
He could have beat me.
So he could have beaten you. That's nice of you. Younger, that was your chance as a younger brother.
Actually, I was happy. I wanted to cross on the same day. I chose not to realize that profit.
That's cool.
I thought it'd be cool.
So I know you're in different parts of the world at the moment.
Yeah. And I wanted to come naturally. I just wanted to keep doing my system, what I always do. Don't try to get ahead. And so I'll cross it when my system allows me to cross it.
And on that, then, like, how much of it was? Because I mean, you've known for a while that this milestone's close. Like, is it on your mind every day? You're dreaming about it. What's that process like?
Well, I mean, for me at least, we were getting close in 2022, and then we had a gigantic red year, and it's just sort of been like I was in how long was the drawdown? A year and a half or something.
At least a year.
After that long of being in a drawdown, after getting somewhat close, you just kind of. I didn't start thinking about it until I was in the 900Ks, and then I was thinking about it like every day.
Every day, was it? Is that the same for you, Evan? Every day?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like trading, it gets so volatile sometimes that you go up and down, and you kind of just become numb to it. And every day is another day. However, but once you do hit it, you kind of realize it. Oh wait, I hit it. Wait, I should feel way more excited than I do now.
It's just career. It's a terrible career.
Is it?
It's such a volatile.
It's terrible at how good we didn't. I felt like we should have felt better about it.
Right.
But it just feels like another day at the job. I mean, honestly.
Although that was my next question. Like, what did you do to celebrate? I know, like, you're obviously in different continents, so like you can't go out and just, I don't know, have steak together or whatever. But like,
I went and had some steak.
You had some steak.
I went to Hillstone. Yeah,
Lovely.
I really like Hillstone restaurant.
Nice. And Chris, what about you? Did you celebrate with it, doing anything?
Yeah, I just went. I got a burger and a beer at my favorite burger spot down here.
Nice. So you both celebrated with beef. Do you know what? You two are my kind of guys.
But it did. Once I got there. I realized it. I did get sentimental. I was really stoked about it. But like not until like maybe like an hour after I did it.
Yeah. I mean, that probably took
like
an
after
hour
thinking about sitting down, like a 6-year journey, I finally did it. So.
And I suppose on that, like, so for that first hour, then, I mean, what's going through your head? Was it a little bit? Were you? Because sometimes I think like there's a lot of goals you can achieve in life, and sometimes actually it can be quite anticlimactic once you achieve them. I'm hoping you say that's not the case, because we're trying to inspire people here. So
yeah, doing that. Being honest, immediately what I thought was, awesome, I did it. Until tomorrow when I lose 30K, then I'm back below $1 million. I'll be honest, that was my first thought.
Yeah. But did that happen, or has it been?
No, I've been steady ahead of Mill. It's been great. I haven't dipped below
yet.
Yeah,
well, I think that would be my first, thought as well. Like, should I celebrate when I get to like 1.2 or something?
Right.
Just to be like, then I'm a bit safer. Then I can, that's the deal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've already kicked off by talking about this $1 million milestone. I think it's incredible. I'm really keen to we've got to explore it deeper. First, to kick it off, though, I just wanted to find out a little bit more about, to kick it off with your styles of trading. Like, how would you describe yourself as traders?
We're systematic traders.
100% system.
I would give myself 90%, 85. I give my brother higher, maybe more 95.
Okay. And in terms
Chris, of yeah.
And how, just on that though, in terms of how systematic are you? How do you define systematic then? Let's perhaps kick off with that as well.
Predefined. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Predefined rules. You do all your work after market hours. And when it comes to actual market hours, it should just be clicking buttons at that point, because you're doing all your work beforehand. You're predefining your criteria, predefining your entries and exits, predefining everything you look for. So when it comes to market hours, it just comes down to executing your system.
Yeah, Chris, was that?
And backed by data, market data, of course.
Yeah, Chris, same answer. Yeah. Anything to add?
I mean, if it can be automated by a machine, then it's system trading, and we're in the process of doing that right now. But we still click buttons.
So that's the next goal. We're
working on our algorithm right now. It should be up and running within the next few months.
Nice. And then you can go and enjoy more burgers and steak without having to click any buttons.
Exactly.
And then just in terms and perhaps just to refresh listeners if they aren't aware of your story, I think you both said it's around 6 years, 6-year journey you've already touched on. What's that cycle been like for you? And I'm thinking about it in terms of, I know you've been through a variety of resources as well, but also in terms of, when did the systematic side, when did you think, actually, this is how I want to trade as well? I don't know, Chris, you want to have a go first?
Yeah, sure. So the story is, Evan was actually trading discretion before I even came in. So I came in 2020 and Evan started in 2018, and that's when he was learning, and he was doing, I didn't join in until he started becoming profitable for obvious reasons.
I told him, Chris, I think I finally figured it out. It's time for you to come in.
So
his first trade was $1,000, and he never went back.
Wow, nice. That's a good way to start.
And he was discretion trading, but he was doing it based off of data. So you could almost say it was a hybrid.
I'd say hybrid. Yeah.
And then he was trying to teach me discretion for like a month or two, and I was just like, this is impossible. And then he showed me his handwritten data sheets, because he wasn't even using Excel, and he explained this super old version of our system, very primitive. And I was like, I'm just going to do that. And then I just started doing that. And then it worked out for me from there. And then he started doing it after he saw me making money.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So Evan got Chris into it. Chris started off by making £1,000 first trade, then started making more money with Evan's system. And then Evan said, right, I want my system back. I'm going to do the same.
Yeah.
Is that how it went? Right.
That's exactly. So my brother, he started. I remember. So I was doing hybrid. I was successful at it, but then he started my system before me, my Gapper system, which is basic, open to close data. But in 2019 and 2020, that was like the Gapper data open to close was phenomenal. And I showed my brother that. He started it. I saw him make like 5K in one day, and I made like 1,000 or 2. And I'm like, no way, you're just going to come in here and start making more money than me already. Because he did. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm doing the system too now. I'm going to do both. And that's how it started.
No, that's such a great story. And just on that, I'm really keen to drill down in terms of because I think systematic, and you touched on hybrid there, which is probably a good way actually to describe how I trade. I would describe it with like, I sometimes would say, I call it like discretion with like an awareness of data, as in I know the data in terms of like, and then I mean in terms of like small caps, we're often talking about what's typical is get a big gapper, usually starts the day at highs, ends the day at lows. There's like a real simplified version of it. And in terms of like, just to drill down, like how systematic are you guys? I mean, what's the level of detail are you looking for? Is it like sort of some, because I've seen like some different looking charts from perhaps what I would have seen from you guys perhaps a couple of years ago, I'd say. So in terms of like, how systematic are you in terms of, is it a case of you just short the opening print, or is it X% or whatever? I don't know if there's
we've
an
gotten more advanced. We've gotten a lot more advanced, but when we started out, it was, very basic. I mean, if you just open to close data on very massive gappers, I mean, if you did that in 2020, I could prove it with data. So I'm not lying. I could show it right now. I could prove it. If you look at 2020, it was an anomaly year from entry at open, exit at close. The amount of gappers, the quantity was incredible. And you could have grown an account. We did. We grew a 30K account to 400K by simply entering at the open, exiting at the close, and obviously with the market cap and float criteria as well.
Yeah.
And that, I'm not even kidding, that was it. And I mean, it's not that simple anymore. And the volatility of open to close has gotten pretty wild now, in my opinion. And so we've evolved now. We have more different exits. We wait for maybe a squeeze percentage, maybe look for more backside to quantify, something like that. But yeah.
No, that sounds, I mean, it sounds great. It's sometimes, I think small caps is quite funny because actually, I think a lot of people do actually trade them the same, but in terms of like how they actually come up with their entries and exits and things can be very different. And I've just noticed like recently, I forget which one of you it is, I apologize, but I just noticed your charts and you touched on how it just seems like you're not trying to like top tick or anything. It's more of a confirmation of actually we, as per our system, backside is in and then we go heavy. That's what it looks like anyway. Is that fair? Or...
Yeah. We have a system like that now. Yes.
We don't have anything that can determine a top tick. I mean, when you're a system trader, I don't think it's impossible.
Right.
I feel like discretion traders are probably better at finding an actual top. The whole point of system trading is if you do 200 trades in the same exact way, you'll be very profitable at the end of that, on the other side.
End of the year.
Yeah. I mean, don't talk to me about top ticks. It's no bueno, absolutely no bueno. And then just before we started recording, you've touched on like some of the resources that you've used over the years. I mean, who would you perhaps say has been the most like influential in your? I mean, it sounds like it might just be each other, to be honest. But has there been anyone perhaps outside of you two that's been incredibly influential?
I think it was Gratani that made Evan start tracking data at first. And then that was the biggest guy in terms of becoming system traders. And then honestly, I feel like we were pretty isolated for a while. We actually thought we were the only ones doing this and we found some kind of hack.
We thought we were a genius because we had this like such basic strategy that was making 6 figures in 2020. We thought we had a cheat code.
But then we found Verma and we were like, oh, there's someone else that trades similarly. And then we learned some he was important in teaching us position sizing because we were
compounding profit.
So dumb. Yeah,
that's cool. That's such a great. I mean, it's funny actually, the people that we do influence, like we touched on before we came on camera, we're talking about Tim Sykes, talking about Nate, Tim Gritani. I think actually so many people just refer to the same people, but I always find it so interesting that like we're influenced so heavily by these people, but actually the styles that come out of like you two, for example, in terms of like you started, like you said, with Tim Sykes, it seems your style is not like Tim's at all.
No.
Evan used to trade. You were trading Tim Sykes style.
I mean, I panic dip buys, and when I was in there when OTC market was still a little bit more alive. And I literally just got really good at the OTC market right when it died. Of course, really unfortunate. But just before it died, I had a good month of killing the OTCs, of panic dip buys, and shorting those first red days. But and then it disappeared, which was unfortunate. So I did used to do that. Yeah.
No, that's cool. And I suppose like if I'm also intrigued to know, like, if we were to look under the hood, sorry, of you two, like, what's different? What's different about you two to get you to this point? I just think it's such an amazing story, and like, I've got a brother, and we couldn't be any more different. So I'm thinking, like, you two, I don't know, I can't say there's something in the water because you're in different continents. So I don't know. There must be something, right?
I mean, one of the things Evan and I have had in common since we were 5 years old is games and competitiveness. And we were both he was like a Call of Duty pro, and I was a Super Smash Bros. University champ. So that was the one thread.
That's how it all started.
This was just another game we were playing together on the same team.
Yeah, the same team.
So I can say you've always been on the same team then. You're not ever. I just could figure brothers are always like this, but you seem almost too nice to each other so far.
Well, what's good for him is good for me, and vice versa. It's not like we're at some super $1 million size where we're competing with each other in the tape or something.
And it's important, especially with system traders. You need a system of checks and balances. There's so much data, and your numbers are going through every day. It's so easy to make a mistake. I can't tell you how many times my brother have shifted the same data, and we come back and we have different conclusion. And then you'll go back and we'll see that there's just one minute mathematical mistake that changed everything. And then so we'll check and balance to make sure everything is correct and go through, everything step by step.
The biggest struggle is coming up with new strategies. I mean, that's the hardest part about being a system trader. And it's kind of like the more heads in there thinking, the better chances you are of discovering
counting
something.
Edges, more eyes. Everybody analyzes differently. I see it in Twitter. I see people making conclusions off data, and I'm just like, what is this guy talking about? You seem so sure, but I have a complete different conclusion, and we're looking at the same exact numbers. So it's just everyone really differs. Yeah.
No, I always think that, and there's some people are so sure, and I'm like, ultimately, like at worst, it's like you might have like a small edge on something, but you can never. I mean, as a system trader, you'll know it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your win rate is, but I imagine if you're give or take somewhere between like, around 50% up to, I don't know, 60, 70 or whatever, you still got to be wrong a decent amount of time. So when people are acting too sure, I'm always suspicious.
Yeah. And data always changes too. We got humbled heavily in 2022. We had a pretty big red year when our system fell apart.
Well, that's what that leads on nicely to what I was going to ask about next. I was going to ask about setbacks. And I know before we started recording, you touched on 22. So I guess, like, what's the backdrop? Like, what changed so much from obviously the success of 20 and then into 21? What happened in 22?
We were just, I mean, there's different theories. We've basically concluded we had one strategy that was it was bad, and it was taking away all the profits from the other strategies.
I think overfitting. I think I overfitted on a couple patterns. Like, I found a pattern that was working for 10 years straight, and then the moment we started, it stopped working. And I'm like, what happened there? And like, we're betting big size too on this new pattern, which was another rookie mistake. Like, going full size on a fresh pattern that we just found and haven't even tested, and that destroyed our bankrolls heavily.
I mean, we were just like drugged off of the success of the first 2 years. I mean, we made over 700, 800K in 2 years, and we just think we're unstoppable. We start analyzing too much. And like Evan said, I think we overfitted data. It was a big lesson in system trading not to overfit criteria and to have enough sample sizes. I think it was also a very small sample size compared to
that too.
I mean, it worked for 10 years, but if it's only like 1 to 200 samples, I mean, that's
exactly. And okay, since you mentioned that, like, as a follow-up to that, then, like, what do you deem like a decent sample set?
The bigger, the better. I mean, we have one now.
Minimum 1,000. I want to say minimum 300 now. I feel like minimum 300, maybe minimum 250. I'd say 300, around there.
Still, it's we're looking into thousands now, and that's like big game changer. That's helping a lot.
Yeah.
It's like a worse strategy where like the average gain looks worse than other ones, but with such a large sample size, I think there's less of a chance of it just kind of changing out of nowhere.
Yeah, quantity is important. The market's fairly random, well, with statistical consistencies. And, you know, like a casino, you need volume, you need quantity.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And just like in terms of like, obviously after that success of 20 and 21, how much like of a drawdown, I mean, how did it, okay, let's not go into details, I suppose, but like, how did that feel in terms of like, because like you said, you're on such a high for 2 years. I know you were joking about we think we cracked the system and all that, but it must have hurt going into 22.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Oh man, my brother, I couldn't even imagine his pain. He had way more pain than I did.
Really?
160K I lost that year.
Yeah, I was down 70 that year, but he was down huge and both were.
Moved to Latin America so I can live cheaply.
Well, no, I was going to say that sounds like it led to it. It's funny though that it sounds like that led to something really good, because you were also saying off camera you then went to South America, and is that where you met your partner as well?
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing how like through a pretty shitty event of I've just lost 6 figures, I'm going to go and do something drastic, and then your life changes forever.
I never thought of that. All right, so I'm the reason you and me are married.
if I didn't lose money, I wouldn't be married right now.
All right.
It's starting to sound like Chris owes, you're heavily in debt to Evan by the sounds of it. Not that not that Evan hasn't asked me to keep score, but Evan, I got your back here. Don't worry. Have you got any recaps that we could, anything? One of you mind sharing your screen, and I'll just.
Okay, so this was 2021. I mean, this is really a system trade with just a mix of some discretion in there. But as we said, I mean, our system strategy at that time was very simple. And Gapper, this was gapping up, let's see what, 200%. It was over 200% gap. Big price ticker, I think it was opening at like $20. But as you can see, I shorted the open. Open was a big edge shorting these gappers. You know, if you took the open a lot every time, anytime you had a very large gap and you covered the close, and you did that every time throughout 2020, 2021, you were pretty profitable. And as you can see, I shorted the open. I mean, that is a system entry. Mm-hmm. And then it absolutely collapsed. Did I expect that? No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty sweet collapse. And when something collapses that much, it was too quick, too soon, way too much. I had to take that profit. And that's exactly what I did. I took some profit right at the first one. It bounced a little bit, took a little more, also short a little more just because I thought it might come down. Then I covered the rest all right there at 14, and I just waited for the bounce, and I got back in. And I mean, I needed to get back in because well, one, I already made so much profit. I'm always competing against myself. So, I mean, I'm only competing against my system. So that means I'm only competing against the profit of open to close.
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So in terms, sorry, just on that. So you were able to, I guess then, do you work out how much you would have made if you just went open print, closing print, and then actually you're testing yourself, actually I can cover some, short the bounce, and then see if I can make more than the system?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, nice.
So then that's what I did, because when they give too much and too soon, you usually get a bounce from every time I've seen it happen. So I was expecting a bounce. I got one. Of course, it's not 100% guarantee. It could have kept fading maybe, and I would have been crying because I would have missed out on profit.
Yeah.
But I got the bounce, shorted it, and then I covered at the close. And then you could see me shorting more at the close because I thought about swinging it. And then it gave me another $2, and I was just like, oh, forget it. And I just covered all of it at like $12.
Nice.
But that was a huge profit day for me that day. It was 78K. So
that was your record day back then. Nice.
That was but I had another bigger profit day after that. But the funny part is, after this trade, is that we lost like 2/3 of it the very next day.
Oh. And in terms of like, if someone said to you, I want to see your best or favorite trade of your career, is this the one you usually go to? Like, this is the one.
I'd say it was my favorite trade of my career. Yeah.
Evan, let's chat about perhaps one that's slightly more recent. And I'm just interested as well. obviously talk us through this trade and perhaps how it looks different. It looks very different from the previous example. So what's changed?
Right. What's changed is I kind of stopped shorting the open so much. I kind of stopped altogether. It got really volatile this year. And after, enough study and analysis, I feel we have found better entries. They vary, but I like to, it's a big gapper. I like to wait for shorts to get squeezed out. I want to see shorts, I want them to have pain. I want to see them give up.
Yeah.
And that would be the first, indicator for me is like, okay, I like this. And then it started consolidating up there. And any sort of squeeze extension, and I see consolidation. Usually it gets kind of very buy. I'm thinking it's getting really buy heavy. And too many longs are now getting congested up there. So I want to hit that breakdown. And that's exactly what I did. It broke down 26 cents, I believe. Or no, 18 cents.
18,
and when it broke down that 18-cent level, I wanted to be there. And I hit it. And then next thing to do after that is to sit on your hands the best you can and wait for it to fade. And that's exactly what I did.
But this is one difference, actually, because Evan stopped shorting the open, but I still do it. So it's just an example of we look at the same data and we make different decisions.
It's interesting. And so I guess on that, Chris, did you trade VBIV? And if you did, would your chart would have looked different then?
I'm sure I did. Here, I probably, what I did is I just went partial at the open and then partial at the big, the crash over there through that under that support level.
Yeah.
That's probably how I played it.
Yeah. Chris probably hit open and probably right where I hit it as well. Because to reduce our volatility now, we've expanded our entries. So maybe this entry has a bad volatile period, but the other one's working right now. So it will make your system less volatile if you have multiple entries.
Yeah. And on that then, why are perhaps you two slightly, I mean, obviously you're still trading the same tickers, but has that come down to a little bit of your individual personality, the ability to take pain? What's with the divergence between the two of you?
Chris has more volatility tolerance than I do, I think.
Okay, I like that.
I think he has more risk tolerance than me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the most important thing is going to be more profitable rather than can I stomach it? Because I would rather force myself to stomach volatility, and what helps me stomach it is knowing that it's a more profitable strategy.
Right. And I'm the opposite. I prefer I'll reduce profit totally fine if it makes my volatility much more happier.
Nice. And so does that mean you think, Evan, your stress levels are slightly lower?
I'd say so. Yeah. Chris has gone through some wild swings, but I went through a crazy swing this year, even worse than you. Yeah. I don't know.
But it just goes to show, like, when things are bad, I lose more than Evan. When things are good, I might make a little more than Evan.
Yeah.
Right. When things are bad, exactly.
Yeah, and I suppose, Evan, perhaps you won't have those swings, but I guess in terms of like perhaps Chris's curve is slightly,
right.
Slightly harsher edges, and yours is perhaps a bit smoother, but it sounds like actually they're probably at the same point, just with a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy how it's been 4.5 years for me. I mean, that's when I started, and we've just been like, there's been periods where we've been over 100K apart in profits, but somehow we always swing around each other and then we cross the same time. I mean, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
The odds of that is insane.
I was gonna say, you're the system guys. Like, what the odds of that are astronomical.
I know.
Honestly, like in terms of like lottery being struck by the lightning 3 times, whatever, I think that's the odds of hitting on the same day, I think, are higher than both of those.
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane.
It is insane.
I was saying 2022, I lost 100K more than him. And so I was probably under your P&L by 100 and something K, 140K.
Yeah, 140
at the end of that year.
You just couldn't let him beat you, could you?
Yeah.
I like it.
More volatility, more profits.
I like your style. And I mean, I'm intrigued on that as well, because it sounds like you, from the start, you've obviously been, that's the goal. What's like your relationship with money been like? And I think for this question, sometimes it's also good to go back. What was it like when you were younger as well? And has that had any influence now? I don't know which one of you wants to answer that one first.
I'll go. I don't think I don't think I've actually felt. I remember in 2021 and 2020, I felt rich. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a rich person now. After 2022, I haven't felt the same. I'm back to what I was when I was a musician, like teaching music. I try not to spend. I try to be very safe with my money because this career is volatile. And if another year like 2022 comes, my goal right now is to make as much money as fast as possible so that I can have enough passive income to substitute a job. I think once I'm there, I'll feel good again.
Is that the same for you, Evan, or are you slightly different?
No, yeah. I remember after 2022, it was a really humbling year, I'd say. And now you just gotta, you just keep working. And so what exactly my answer? My relationship to money? What am I?
That was the question. Yeah, sorry. You can answer you can answer what you want. I'm just intrigued because I think there's something about, because it sounds like you're obviously like your brothers, but you're slightly different. And like in terms of like one of you's perhaps slightly more risk adverse. I'm not saying you are risk adverse, but slightly more, perhaps Evan than Chris. But also you've been raised in the same house with with this same environment. But obviously you've emerged slightly different. I'm just really intrigued, really, to know what Are you thinking about money whilst you're trading, or is it just this is?
Yeah, it's even more so now because that's probably the biggest reason why. Also, just a humbling year of losing. But I don't live with my parents anymore. I have real bills to pay.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I was just out of college, still at my mom's house, still have no expenses pretty much. So that's all changed. So now I need to make money. So it definitely adds to the stress level.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And from an early point of view, were you just both pretty fixated on, or was it just all about seven figures, or did you start off a bit smaller, just want to make 100 grand or whatever?
I was happy with 100K in the beginning. I'm like, I have 100K. I thought I was, and then it turns into 400. I got 400K.
I mean, you got to think about where we were. Like Evan was living at home out of school, never made more than when working at the pizza place.
I worked at Dagwood's. It's a pizza place. Yeah.
Wow. And I was teaching music lessons, making like 33K a year. And what happened with me is COVID came and I lost half of my students. Okay, so hardly any income in LA, just gets cut in half. And so I was just thinking about, I got to figure something else out. And that's when I started learning.
Yeah. And I think that's I still think it's one of the most insane things about trading, that it becomes like, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, and we just talk about it so blasé. We're just like,
that's
100K.
That's what gets me. Yeah.
I made 10 times my income that first year of trading.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. It's actually, it really makes you look at money differently, if that's what we're talking about. Probably not even a good way. Money just becomes this thing because we're so used to gaining and losing it all the time. Like I go to a dinner, it's like, $300. And then I'm like, oh, that's like not even a day of borrow fees, whatever. Like
I still don't do that. I somehow clicked back into what I was. 2022 permanently changed me. I clicked back into how I was before trading. And like real life money is still different from trading money. I'll spend $1,000 on borrow, but I can't go buy a $200 steak.
Well, that's true.
I am 100% with you there, Chris. Like, I'm still the guy that if I see the toothpaste I like and it's on offer, I'll buy 10 packs because I know I'm going to save money here. And I still only buy certain items when they're on sale, even though I'll spend that money in locates or whatever and not give a shit and waste.
Well, I'm always like that because I'm always a value hunter and I'll never stop doing that. I want sales, I want deals, so I'm always going to do that.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why we enjoy trading, because we're into that. And obviously, like, I'm keen to find out as well what advice you've had for others now. And I suppose to kick this off, I mean, I don't know, this might be a hard question sometimes, but I think you'll have a great idea. What makes a great trader, in your opinion? I don't know which one of you wants to go first, but what makes a great trader? And then we'll add on and start talking about how a newer trader can perhaps get to that point. So just start with that.
I think you have to have a super, super strong work ethic. Evan and I both, we get sort of, we work a lot. We get, when we're into something and we want to figure something out, we want to learn about something, we get sort of obsessed over it and we think about it all the time. We talk about it all the time. And as a system trader, I mean, discretion too, but I can't speak about discretion trading so much, but you have to be extraordinarily disciplined. I've seen people looking at the same system as us and just clicking the buttons is too hard for them, seeing them go in the red and then doing something emotionally. And you have to, for a system trader, probably discretion as well, you have to be an extremely good strategizer. To me, that's the hardest part. It's the most time consuming part, most mentally consuming part, I think.
It's almost like you have to be innovative with the data. You have to keep searching and for ideas and come up with ideas. And it takes continuous innovation to catch the new pattern, catch if there's a new edge coming around, and be on top of it. The data's changing, so you got to work on that too.
And it's like, how Evan's saying, I just want to emphasize, it's like you have to be doing things that you haven't really heard of before, in my opinion. Like when we started doing this system, we thought we were the only ones. We're doing something now that we're not really being open about. We feel like we're the only ones.
We were early to it. And I think that's why it works so well. And the crowd got to it and it started getting crazy volatile, the open to close.
Well, that's because they saw you were making 100 grand in a day. So
I still blame Verma for that.
Possibly. I mean, it is funny how edges change. And then I suppose, like, as an adjunct to that question, like, what would your advice be to someone now starting from day dot, or perhaps a year into that journey or whatever? Like, I mean, it sounds like you'd probably say find a system.
I mean, Verma's the only system trading teacher I still know of. So if you want to learn about system trading, although Evans, you're talking in Clover chat sometimes too, I think.
Yeah, we're thinking about starting to teach, me and Chris. But yeah, I'm in Clover, but yeah, I mean, I'm not there all the time, but yeah, I'm in Clover a little bit. I talk there, I teach
it's
there
really
a little bit.
Just poring over Excel sheets. And I think if someone knows, if they just start from looking at open to close and high of day, what's your best stop going to be? Just start there. That's where we started. And then from there, you can go to all kinds of places.
Even then, though, it still might be the right strategy for you. I have a friend that I'm
not saying it is.
Yeah, because sometimes with high probability strategies, with high win rates, the catch there is emotional, volatility. You deal with drawdowns. And so not everyone can deal with that emotions, volatility that can come with system trading.
And I suppose on that then, so the starting point, so if you were to, someone new, you just say start tracking, you'd look at the opening high, higher day, lower day, and
market cap, float, outstanding shares. What else do we look at? Maybe different time frames. Time frames. Volume. How long of data, the length of time, how long has it been working? You want to see it, test the test of time or beat the test of time.
Resistance is another really cool indicator to look at. Try to figure out how to datify some past resistance.
And on that, so was everything manually, as in you scroll through it, or was there like a piece of software that you both found value in?
At first,
we have Calvin. We have a buddy, Calvin, that knows how to. He's a good friend of mine now. His name's Calvin, and he knows how to code, and he pulls market data from Polygon.
Okay,
for us. So we have a teamwork. So he's the coder, he pulls it, and then me and my brother do the analysis.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
And we just because we have a list of stuff we want to do and not enough manpower. So it's usually a combination of Calvin doing Polygon pulls and me doing Spike It pulls. I don't know how to pronounce their name.
Spike It. I think it's Spike
We all know what you mean, but yeah.
Chris uses Spike It.
Two sources we use.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's such a strong starting point. And I mean, in terms of like my journey's been very different from you two in terms of like, but that's where I started in terms of like, just get some like get like a basic understanding of small caps, just start looking at, and I think the other one, and you may have said it, the other one I find that's important is, I know you touched on opening high, but just time of day. And in terms of like very typically, I mean, like I said, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but like often higher day happens before 10:30, lower day happens, sometime in the afternoon. And I think from all of those data points, however you come up with a system that fits you, whether that's in a discretionary fashion or a bit of a hybrid or systematic like you guys, I think it's such like a strong foundation for whichever way that you want to go with that data. So I think that's such great advice.
There was I remember Tim Crotani in the Trading Tickers DVD. He showed his spreadsheet and he had like 20 or 30 different columns. I mean, look at that. You just got to kind of pick and choose and see what you find. Really, it's literally just a gigantic, infinite treasure hunt.
Yeah. Well, we've already. I mean, this is what I said. Like when we get chatting, when you get people that enjoy chatting about trading, time just absolutely flies as always. Now, I've got some fun questions that I want to. I might be using a fun term. I can't quite find it. Fun term lightly. But the first question, if you don't mind me asking, and this is one of my favorite questions. What's the best purchase you guys have made under $1,000? And like, I don't mean like trading. I mean like, mine's always sad. I always talk about an ice bath. It's sad. Cost me £100, but it's the best thing I bought in the past probably 2 years for under $1,000.
Does it have to be a material, or
it can be anything? It can be anything. Just don't say, I don't know, a crypto stock is what I'm thinking, or whatever it is. You can actually, to be honest, you say what you want. It's your show, guys. You say what you want.
I'd say plane tickets, traveling.
Traveling.
Just traveling. Yeah, that was my favorite thing under $1,000. Yeah.
Chris?
Mine was a piano down here in Argentina. I didn't have one for like a year and a half, and then I just went and bought one this year.
Nice. Is that something that like, you can do in the trading day and just be like, right, half an hour on the piano? Is that relaxing? And
absolutely, I get in my trades, and if I want a monitor, I'll just put my laptop on top of my piano and I'll play, and alerts will scream at me if I need to do something. And sometimes I'm trading at my piano. I love it.
Sounds like a great life. I can't like, and I know, and Evan, you've touched on traveling then, so as an adjunct to that question,
I can't think of anything material wise. I don't know.
No, I love it. No, I love it. But where's your favorite place then that you've been?
Ooh, okay. Probably the most. I got 3 that I loved. I love the Philippine Islands, not the mainland. Sorry, Manila.
Really?
I love the islands. I love the islands over there. Then it would be, I love London. I really do. Dude. I love London. I do.
I remember you saying that. Yeah. That was
one of my favorite cities. And one of the most interesting, coolest cities has to be Morocco, Medina. That was really cool. Really, Morocco. But those 3 were my.
That's nice. I mean, I'm glad. Thanks for shouting out London. I've only been to one of those 3. But my best friends just moved to the Philippines. I got excited when you said the Philippines until you said don't go to Manila, which is where he lived.
Manila's fine. It's the mainland. It's just so crazy over there. I mean, the islands is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, they have the most beautiful islands. I'd say Philippine Islands over Thailand any day of the week.
Really, that's the place. And I mean, Chris, we'll come on to yours in a second. But when you're traveling, you take your laptop with you, you still trade everything.
Evan, I think you.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No.
I thought you said Chris.
I was going to say, no, I'll come to Chris next. And I was just picking up, just wondered if you still traded whilst you're surfing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the problem with the system trading is, you can't miss a trade. Well, you can, but it's not the wisest because there's been times where, in a month span, there's like 2 of your trades make 80% of your profits. And you don't know when that trade is going to come.
Yeah.
So if you miss that trade, anytime you miss a trade, you're highly likely missing money, and you don't know when that big one's going to come that you need. So yeah, I'm always bringing my laptop. I don't miss a trade. Always scanning the market, but it's system trading, so it's pretty effortless when the market comes. You just gotta, plug it in, execute. So it's not too much of a daunting task.
I'm sure I've seen tweets of yours as well, where it's like, I put on the trade at 9:30 and then I went hiking for the day or something like that. And all I have to do is just go back at 4 o'clock, collect your money basically, and then carry on partying.
Soon we're gonna have an algorithm, and I won't even have to wake up.
You'll just be traveling.
But I probably still will wake
I'm
up.
gonna be too paranoid. I mean, I've literally been in a situation where my stop didn't go. So I'm like, even if I'm not at my computer, my phone texts me anytime it gets close to my stop.
It's
so I can
terrifying.
check.
We've had stops disappear on us. They disappeared. It happened to Chris. I watched it live. We're like, oh my gosh, why did that?
Yeah,
I'm not going to name any brokerages, but yeah.
Well, I think I'm sure it's probably all of them, because I had similar.
It is. All of them have issues, right?
Yeah, and I had one where it skipped my stop. It was like a tight circuit halter. Then it skipped my max loss, and then it just went halt, and it just, because of the delay with I think the max stop actually, even though like it says 0 sec, but I think it's like a slight delay. Anyway, it was
that's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
It was. I wasn't at home. I was on my phone just seeing this, and I'm like,
gosh.
And then I'm like, if I try and intervene, there's a good chance actually I'll make it worse and like end up long or add to my whatever. So I just
prayed.
I mean, I got out. It's fine. It's like it's just one of the ugliest charts I've ever
these things are terrifying. Even when we have an algo, I feel like I'm going to be so paranoid. I'm going to have to check it all the time.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be funny. I picked the idea of you got like just your computer, like your algo working away, and you just walk in and it'll be like getting locates, initiating positions. Like I don't know. It's
cool because our algo will send us a text every time it's about to get into an entry.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll probably be playing piano, then get the text, run in.
Yeah. Run in, go check, make sure everything's
okay. Work, right. Back to piano. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like I like this stuff. And I mean, Chris, I mean, I don't know if you said Brighton earlier off camera. You quite enjoyed Brighton. I don't expect you to say a place in England, but just out of interest, where's your favorite place when you travel?
The favorite place that I have traveled to? Oh, that's so hard. Oh man, I can't say a favorite. I mean, I could just speak about this, 2-year Latin American life I've been having, and there's some memorable places. I mean, Buenos Aires is amazing. I love Buenos Aires, and the Patagonian mountains are incredible. I think the best hike I ever did was El Chaltén. I think that was one of my favorite hikes in my entire life. And then another insane hike I did was in Guatemala. It was a volcano. Man, I can't remember the name. But you actually hike a volcano to watch another volcano erupt.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
That's incredible. And I suppose, like, what made you settle on Buenos Aires in the end? Like, I mean, I know you touched on you met your wife, but was there something about the culture, the vibe?
Honestly, there was. I tell my wife this all the time. There's that whole trip. My plan was I started in Mexico City and I was going to hit every country until I got to Argentina, and I had Argentina as my destination. And the whole time I was just like, I want to get to Argentina. I ended up skipping a bunch of countries. At one point, I was actually just super exhausted traveling. I flew back home to LA. And I was debating whether or not I should stay or keep traveling again. And then I heard someone talking about Argentina on the radio, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to Argentina then. And that's when I went. And then I met my wife, and I just stayed there. It is very, very comfortable here in Buenos Aires. It feels, people always say Argentina is more like Europe than anything else. And I see what they're talking about now. It's hard to explain, but when I got here, I kind of felt like I was living like how I live in the US. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
that's brilliant. I could tell like your passion just comes through. There are about two things, both of you. The first one is obviously systematic trading. And the second is like your face is both light up when you're talking about traveling. So it's just awesome. It's awesome that like one has given you more access to like the other as well. Like I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean they're intertwined 100%.
Next question. I mean, I don't know if this is. I think this is quite a tough one. Best financial movie or TV show?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Is it both? Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah,
that's mine. That movie's hilarious.
Yeah, Chris, the same.
I honestly don't know, but there's a book I just read. I know you said movie or TV show, but I just read a book that I loved it. I read the whole thing in like a few days. It was the Jim Simmons. It's about Jim Simmons, one of the original quant traders. I'm spacing on I just posted on Twitter. I'm spacing on the title right now, but it's this guy in the 80s who was sort of one of the first quant traders to come around. And it's funny because it's
the
like
first
the
to that market. Yeah.
What's that?
Can you imagine being the first to that market?
I know.
The edges must have been insane being the first to find those. Oh my gosh.
But they were having the same debates then that they're having now, like discretion versus system, like who's better, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think the truth is no one's better than the other. They're just two different styles and personalities. But I mean, this guy made billions doing system trading. So people make billions.
Yeah. I mean, incredibly famous. And this is a good one. What's the weirdest place that you've traded from? I've got two seasoned travelers. There must be like a volcano or something.
Moreno. It's a glacier here in Argentina.
Really?
And I actually had to trade. You know, sometimes I just do photo ops, but this one I was actually closing out a trade while the glacier was like breaking off sheets of ice next to me.
Oh wow. That's so surreal. Evan, have you got any, you think?
Yeah, I mean, recently we were just trading on a boat, but I think my most stressful one, I was in Rome. I was at the Colosseum, and I was at the part in the line where you're getting inside, right? And we have like the time tickets, and my whole group's going ahead of me, but I have a trade I have to do. So now like I'm sitting down on the floor. The police are telling me to get up. I can't get up. I'm holding the laptop, and I'm like, it was a nightmare. I finally get in, and then I shut it, make it through the line just in time, catch up with my friends. And so it was literally at the Coliseum. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's so different to what they were doing actually at the Coliseum when it was current. Like, you're there with your laptop struggling in a queue trying to trade.
And we're both fighting for our lives.
You're both, quite.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And of course, every time I swear it's like every time that happens when like I'm forcing a trade and I'm really busy, I would have been better off just not taking that trade. Yeah. But you don't know that.
I always think that, like, because I trade on holiday, and sometimes I'm like, what it feels like I'm doing is like doing half a holiday and half a job.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the downsides. I'm not as systematic as you guys, perhaps.
Yeah.
So it's difficult because then I'm like, am I crapping on my holiday or am I crapping on my trade? It feels like I'm just doing both, which is quite depressing, really.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to stop. That's probably sounds like the solution.
I know, man. I don't feel like I ever have a holiday anymore. It sucks.
Well,
there was a period where we would have, anytime we were on vacation, we would have our biggest losses ever. Like 4 times in a row. We were just like, why do we trade when we're on vacation? We always lose the most money.
Yeah. That's what I always come back and I always think I'd have just been better off not bothering. And I would have had obviously a better time on holiday, but I mean,
and then you don't stop and you just make the same mistake. It just keeps going.
And then I'm like, I'm at happy hour with a beer and some friends, and I'm just there on my phone looking at my positions, and I'm like,
oh yeah, because you're at night over there. Yeah.
We're at night, So if we go on, I mean, if we go to Europe as well, obviously it's another +1. So like market here is 2:30 to 9, which is, I mean, I quite like mornings is where I do most of my work, and then afternoons I kind of do what you guys do in terms of just let it work, just pop in and just check that I'm not missing anything. But yeah, when I go on holiday and it's like, obviously like you're going out for dinner, but the market will still be open. So it's I mean, I'm maybe I'm just, like I said, maybe I just need to stop.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Japan's trading time. I'm going there.
I was going to say, that must be another +8 on me, I would guess.
I think it starts at
7 or no, starts at 11:30
at night.
Yeah, at night.
Yeah.
11:30 at night. Around that.
I'm hoping I'm going to be comfortable enough at that point. I'm going to stop trading. I'm going to be there for like almost a month. I might take the end of the year off.
Yeah, we're trying to fast track. I'm hoping that
I haven't taken a day off in the last 4.5 years. I mean, we've crossed this milestone. I might actually take a holiday.
I was going to say, you need to enjoy yourselves now. And
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, those hours might not be too bad for like your style in terms of if the market opens 11:30 at night, you could stay up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, go to bed, and then you just have to make sure, I guess, you set your alarm for whatever market closes. And I mean, I know I'm making it sound very much easier than I'm sure it is, but there might be a way actually to make that. The time zones are almost so horrible.
Yeah,
You might actually be able to make it good.
I would just have to put the computer right next to my bed so it will wake me up with an alert if I need to check my stops. That's what I would have to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose it just depends. Like, depends if you like to drink or not. Because that could be pretty disastrous as well if you've had a few beers or a few cocktails.
There was one time, I forgot where Evan was, but he was literally at a bar. There's music blasting. We're on our group trading chat, and he's wasted, and I'm like calling out the entrances.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where was that? That was so funny.
I think that happened. I guess that happened. It wasn't the Philippine Islands.
I think you were in. Yeah, it was. You were in Southeast
Philippine
Asia.
Islands. It was like there was like a club or something going on. Yeah, and I was on the table in the back.
So you're in a club with your laptop. Just
yeah. I was just sitting there. Yeah. And then I think I lost like 30 grand in the club, and I was like,
and it wasn't even on bottle top service. Wow. And I swear,
I just shut my laptop. I'm like, all right, let's.
Probably go to the bar then. That might be a good idea. But I'm sure as well, I've seen a tweet from one of you as well at a wedding trading. Is that one of you guys? You were at a wedding trading?
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
I know. I told them before I come, like, look, I'm gonna have to take a trade if there is one. I'm sorry. And it wasn't during the actual wedding. It was after the ceremony.
Okay,
so it wasn't even that, it was after the ceremony type of thing, and we're all just like walking inside to our tables, for the first wine and little foods to eat, right? And I had to take my trade, and thank goodness I did. I told Leo, sorry, I made 14 grand. I needed to take that trade, and so
yeah.
I remember exactly. So I have no regrets.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I love your commitment as well. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, Chris, Evan, I've had such a laugh chatting to you both, and we've had a laugh, and there's so many nuggets there. Just thank you so much for giving up your evening. Really appreciate it. Just before we go, just where can the viewers find you?
Twitter.
Twitter. Eshunk8. And what's yours, Chris?
Chris Schunk. SUNK.
Cool. And I look forward to. Maybe once the algo's out and it's been tested, we'll have to do a part 2 and see how it's going, see if your life has changed. It sounds like there might be more traveling, more drinking, more everything by the sense of it. I love it.
It's funny. Everyone still calls X Twitter. I don't think it's ever going to change.
It's Twitter. I don't Twitter. Call it. It's just, it's just a man's obsession with a letter, but
I agree.
Right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you. Great to meet you.
Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of Trading Takes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out some of others with some great traders. Thank you for watching.